Perfect, thanks very much. Right, hello. So I've got 10 minutes. I'm going to rattle through this. But first up, show of hands, Cyber Essentials. Who's got Cyber Essentials? Oh wow, I expected more than that. Okay. Well, this first part may be relevant or not. Let's go with it. So Cyber Essentials, okay. Big hands up, actually. Does everyone know what Cyber Essentials is? Okay, wow, okay. Right, Cyber Essentials, basically, it's a government-backed scheme. It's the foundations of cybersecurity. It's something that all small businesses are probably going to have in the future, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But for those of you that do have Cyber Essentials and the rest of you that are going to be looking at getting it sometime soon, there's only going to be a few changes in April 2025, and I'm going to go really fast over this. Terminology, making it essentially broadening the scope of what's going to be included. So things like work from home is now work from home and remote users. Passwordless technology, so it's now getting rid of the idea of passwords, so we can use MFA, so something we know, something we have, something we have where we are, authenticator apps, that kind of thing, so we can forget about passwords if we want to. And scope verification, where you're not using your whole organization to be Cyber Essentials compliant, you can always just do a section of it, so a segment of it. However, if you can do that now, an auditor is going to verify that you've got the proper controls in place. Cyber Essentials is 10 years old. There's been a lot about it recently, albeit the 10th birthday was in June, but the government, the National Cybersecurity Centre, have come out and produced some stats, essentially showing that 92% of people that have Cyber Essentials don't make a cyber insurance claim. They've been talking about the awareness, the increase in awareness of cybersecurity. The stats from the National Cybersecurity Centre's annual reports, and people that do it, not even for the first time, second, third, fourth time, over 60% of them learn something new. So the advantages of doing Cyber Essentials, just to understand the potential risks you face, is really valuable. And supply chain, and this is a bit that is particularly relevant, is that in effect, we're seeing more and more, certainly for government bodies, you have to have Cyber Essentials in place, but more and more people are saying when they're sitting down to draw up your contracts, what cybersecurity controls have you got in place? And if you can say Cyber Essentials, most people are satisfied with that. There is more information on Cyber Essentials in the 10-year point, whether it's been a success or failure. I wrote this article for Computer Weekly, so I'll get Richard to share it afterwards. And I've been quite honest in that article as well, so please do have a look. The final point I'm going to make here, is anybody financial industry? Anyone working with anybody in the financial industry? Well, I've hit the target tonight, haven't I? So, recently the banks have announced they've got Nationwide, Barclays, Lloyds TSB, Santander, that they've now said their supply chains, if you are in them, they're going to be looking for you to have Cyber Essentials. It's going to become a requirement. This is off the back of St James's Place doing a similar thing with their wealth management firm. There's over 2,800 partners, and they've forced them to do it, and they've seen an 80% reduction in cybersecurity incidents. So if you think about the money they've saved and the amount of resources having to go in to deal with that. So because of this, what I'm expecting to see, financial industry, they're going to implement it. It's going to follow on because it just makes sense. So this is coming down the road, so be aware of it now. These two, so the Network and Information Security Directive 2 and the Digital Operational Resilience Act, these are both European pieces of legislation, but if anybody in the room is working with organisations in Europe, they may become relevant to you. So with NIS2, we're looking at things like critical suppliers, water, food, transport. They're going to require you to follow these controls. So you need to be aware. This again is finance. So again, be aware because NIS2 is live now. Cyber attacks. So first up, Transport for London. So the start of, I believe, September, Transport for London were victim of a cyber attack. Now at the time, they said it was a sophisticated cyber attack. The only noticeable difference for users were new users weren't able to sign up to get an Oyster card and arrival times were impacted, but 5,000 people were affected by this. So employees and users of TfL, their data has been stolen. However, interestingly, someone's been arrested for it, a 17-year-old lad from Walsall. Now, that doesn't scream to me someone very sophisticated. He's currently been arrested. He's on bail. So I'll keep you updated with that. But I think it's really interesting because they haven't given too much information about what's happened. This one is particularly interesting. So a firm, we don't know who, and we don't know where. We've been told UK, Europe, has been hacked by North Korean cyber criminals, and they haven't gone with a phishing email or the usual technique. They applied for a job within the company. And they were a remote worker, and they got the job. And then as a result, as being an IT worker as well, they had certain access that they were able to exploit, and they stole some data. This was found out pretty quickly, and they were fired. And the reason for me telling you this is the second time it's happened. We know who the first company was, and it's a company called Know4, who are a large, very large, international cybersecurity awareness company. They fell victim to the exact same attack. So yeah, they probably did it on purpose so they could publish it. So,
Publicity's good publicity.
exactly. So be aware when we're recruiting, it's something we have to now consider. It's another attack vector. And this one's interesting too. Black Basta ransomware group. So we spoke a lot about ransomware last time. Now, this ransomware group have found a new way to get into our system. So we spoke about phishing, smishing, quishing. Well, this is completely different. So we can now speak to people externally through Teams, so they don't have to be within our own organization. But what this group have decided to do is change their name so that when you get a message from them, it will say IT help desk or admin support, whatever it may be. So it looks like it's someone to help you. And because it's within your own internal teams, you have that initial assumption that, well, they must be okay. As a result, they then go back to the tactics we spoke about before. They'll send you a link, they'll send you something to click to open, and it's malware. So be aware. If you get in contact from someone on Teams who you don't know, and they're asking you to do something which is unusual, it could be a form of social engineering. And I want to drop these in. So last time we spoke, we explicitly spoke about Ransom Hub because the FBI warned us about them. Soon after that conversation, Ransom Hub became very active. So the point I want to make here is you've got a company called Parenthood and you've got Kawasaki. I'm pretty confident everyone will be aware of Kawasaki. It doesn't matter the size of your organization. If you're going to click the link, if you're going to engage with cyber criminals in any way, shape or form, they are happy to deploy ransomware on you. So be aware. And it's not just Ransom Hub. It's not just the ones we're saying to be aware of. Riceda are the people the ransomware group that attacked the British Library. They've been quiet for a long time, but now they're back on the scene and they've done it in style. They've essentially deployed ransomware on the Port of Seattle and the international airport and demanding 100 Bitcoin for it. Ransomware, as we spoke about last time, this is a massive, massive threat that everybody needs to be constantly aware of. Compliance, right. Meta fined $101 million. Essentially, what they did is they had their users' passwords saved on their internal network in plain text. So the human eye could read it. It wasn't hashed, it wasn't encrypted. It was there for everyone to see. They weren't breached, so the data didn't go anywhere. However, the Irish Information Commissioner's Office have fined them $101 million for that offence. Interestingly, Skybet, they've been reprimanded last month, by the ICO, because we were talking about cookies and tracking earlier. For 2 months, just over 2 months, they didn't have that little pop-up that says, do you accept these cookies? So they've now been reprimanded and essentially publicly shamed, damaging their reputation for simply doing that act. Finally, now this is the most important piece of the puzzle for me. 67% of organizations say employees lack basic cyber security awareness. And this is why I'm here tonight, to keep you guys updated, because if you're aware of those threats, think of that Teams threat. Now we're aware of it, we will think if that situation happens and it will stop us. So 67% are saying awareness is a problem. Now, Microsoft have released a guide called Be Cyber Smart, nothing to do with the company I work for, but Be Cyber Smart. So again, I'll share the link with Richard and he'll share it out. But essentially, it's got some really, really good information in it. As you can see here about passwords, phishing, scams, it's stuff that you can use to improve your own knowledge, but when you're creating onboarding processes, if you're simply wanting to share information in the office virtually or posters on walls, this is the material that you need. It makes it super simple. And that, I'm hoping, is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And time for a break.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Robert.